everyone, it is Tanya. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I am back with a very special speed build as I am creating a build for a Sims 4 build challenge in collaboration with the Great Ormond Street Hospital charity, which is in London. Basically, this hospital, funds free accommodation for parents so that they are never far away from their children when they are in hospital. Families of patients staying overnight or long term at the Great Ormond Street Hospital often make use of these sort of accommodations, which helps to ease the burden of families, raise spirits, and support children and young people through their treatment. Essentially, it's just like a space that's very close by within minutes of the hospital that they are provided free of charge so that they can be close by and not really have to worry about traveling when there's so many more important things to be worrying about during that time. So with that, I am creating that sort of accommodation in the game. We are building in the world of Britechester, which came with the Discover University expansion pack, and I'm also raising money for the Great Ormond Street Hospital. There's going to be a link to our Tiltify campaign down below. I did stream this build over on Twitch last week as well, where we were able to raise, I believe, 141 pounds, which is massive for the amount of time we were live. And we have a goal of 250 pounds. So it'd be amazing if you have anything to spare. If you would be interested in clicking that that donate button down below. I would really appreciate it. They would really appreciate it. It makes a massive difference in these families' lives. And no worries if you can't. Thank you so much for just watching this video and hearing all about it. And with that, let's talk a little bit about the build. I really wanted to make sure that whatever I built was in one of the worlds, or at least inspired by one of the places in game that is based in the UK. And so I decided to choose Britechester because it feels very reminiscent of that area. And I was very inspired by some of the townhouses that I found off lot. And so I kind of replicated that same style so that these looked like they fit in. And I love how these came out. I'm very excited for you to see them. One of the suggestions that we were given from Gosh on types of accommodations to create were like row houses, townhouses, things like that, and to have a variety of different rooms for different families. There could be more than one family staying in each townhouse. You could be sharing space with them, but I was kind of imagining when I built this that each one was for a different family, but obviously they're really big spaces, so the bedrooms could be for multiple families. But I did want each room to be different in that some are set up for kids, some are set up for a mom who might have a newborn or maybe is pregnant. I have a first floor bedroom in both of these units that is more accessible if there were a Sim staying here who was in a wheelchair, for example. And I tried to keep all of that stuff in mind while I was decorating. So we'll talk more about that when we get inside. And I also wanted to mention that the unit on the left is fully furnished, has everything in it, and we're going to go through that whole process. Whereas the unit on the right has the floor plan and all of the built-in fixtures, but I left the rest of it pretty empty so you could decorate it however you'd like to if you wanted to continue with the idea of what I was creating here of these accommodations, or if you just wanted to play in these townhouses and decorate the other one however you'd like. So I thought that was a good way to do it. And if you'd like to download this build, it is available on the Sims 4 gallery. You can find it under my EA ID, which is Gryphi, Gryphi. You could also find it under the hashtag Gryphi, and that information will also be in the description down below as well. So right now I'm extending the townhouses because they were far too short. They needed to be way longer for me to fit everything in that I wanted to on the interior. And I actually end up extending this multiple more times because it just was too small on the inside, because I wanted to make sure all of the living space was on the bottom floor as well as an accessible bedroom and bathroom. And so I just underestimated how much space I was going to need for that. So that will be extended. I can't remember if I cut that out or not because I kept having to do it and it was just a little bit tedious and probably frustrating to watch me continually extending the building and having to fix the roof. So I think I cut that out. But now we're starting to work on landscaping a little bit. I do bounce around and I'm pretty sure I come back to landscaping afterwards, but I'm starting to do that now, getting some trees. I also ended up having a bunch of vines growing up these buildings. These are from Shall Live Edit Objects with the Discover University pack, and I think they are so pretty. They worked nicely here. I also thought about having a fenced-in portion in the backyard, but I quickly got rid of that once I got inside and realized I needed to extend the houses into that space, and we did not have room for that. I do have a small sitting area in the front of the house, or in the front of the lot, that I will be doing much later in the build. And I was thinking that would be a nice area for families to sit together and kind of talk and bond over their experiences at the hospital. That was another thing that was suggested in the document we were sent on this collaboration, this build challenge, and I thought that that was a really cool idea. So I wanted to make sure there was some sort of social space. I also end up putting some monkey bars out front for some kids to play with because there could be family members of all ages and families of all sizes staying in these accommodations. So I wanted to make sure there were still activities for each of those generations. And I think I achieved it pretty well. I really went for cozy vibes in here. I didn't want this to feel sterile and like they're at a hospital. I wanted this to feel like a home away from home. So it definitely leans into the brown tones and just warm, cozy vibes. And I really like this space. I also did end up not super decorating it and keeping things fairly spacious because I was trying to keep in mind there could be either the patient themselves staying in this space or maybe a disabled or elderly family member who might need to access this space. So I tried to make things a little bit wider than I normally would, and you'll also notice in a little while once I add a table and chairs into this space that it only has 3 chairs at it, because I was imagining that I wanted to leave a space for a wheelchair to go ahead and access the table as well. So anyway, we are continuing working on the kitchen here. I'm starting to get some cabinetry, and the whole kitchen's going to move back in a little while as I realize there's not enough space for the living room that I want to include. It was going to be way too scrunched. So I will be moving it back, but it's still going to be the same layout. It's just going to be extended. I also thought about using this tile, but it just didn't feel right for some reason. So I ended up going with a simple diagonal tile. What would I call that? Diamond tile, which I think worked a little bit better. And I was also still trying to figure out what color scheme I wanted to go for here. So I had a lot of greens. And that changes up a little bit, but we're placing down these base game curtains, which end up being absolutely everywhere in this build. I just felt like they fit the vibe I was going for. And this is where I realized I really want to use this couch from the Book Nook kit. It feels so cozy, lots of pillows you can move around for back support, and they're small so they fit the space, but it felt too scrunched still. So here I am starting to do some more of the extending of this build that I did so many times. I think this is the last one though, and I don't think I show fixing the roof and stuff. I just show the decorating this space. So then I am just getting a table to put a TV on. I was trying to pick out, at least on the bottom floor, a lot of tables and bedside tables when it came to the bedroom down here that didn't have drawers. They were actually open underneath, so that way a wheelchair could easily access that space and move right up to it. I was using my own personal experience of staying in a handicap accessible, that's what it was called anyway. I don't know if that's the proper term, but that's what it was called at the hotel I stayed at in Vegas last year. I needed to get an accessible room as I was staying with my 80-year-old grandmother, who didn't feel comfortable with the lack of bars in the shower to hold on to. So we ended up moving to an accessible room, and I noticed a lot of different things in there and why they were the way they were, and I utilized that information in this build, I guess. So the main thing being where I had a missing chair at the table, and a lot of the tables and the tables in the home, side tables and bedside tables, not having drawers underneath and being a little bit taller. So I actually ended up using a kitchen table as a bedside table in the downstairs bedroom, because that's essentially what we had in our hotel room. It was pretty cool. And speaking of which, it was cute. My grandma didn't understand what a lot of the accommodations were, and she was like, oh, there's a little, you know how there's the hole you can look out in the door? What's it called? I don't know. But so you can look out into the hallway. She's like, oh, there's one for children, because it was halfway down the door. And I'm like, no, that's for people in wheelchairs. She's like, oh, I didn't think of that. And I just thought that was really cute. And she was very happy with the hotel we ended up staying in, or the room we ended up staying in. It was very nice. Another thing I ended up taking from that experience, which right now you're not going to see, I'm not sure when I change it, but I didn't want to keep these big tiles in the bathroom space because they are not grippy enough if you have wet feet. There is not enough grout to stay steady in this space. So I do end up changing it later on to be a much smaller tile so that you could have more traction on the ground, especially if you're just getting out of the shower. It's kind of dangerous. And with that, I also put a bunch of bars on the walls here. We have 2 on either side of the toilet. There's some that are in the shower as well, just for safety reasons, and just getting some other decorations, some toilet paper, some curtains, and of course some bathrobes and like regular bathroom clutter. But those were some of the things that I was keeping in mind while I was decorating this space. So there is this new tile that has way more grout to it, much smaller tiles, as that is way better for traction. And then we are starting to decorate that downstairs bathroom that I had mentioned. So I ended up pretty much using the same bed in different swatches throughout the house. I thought that that was pretty realistic, that they'd probably purchase essentially the same bed frame and, get different bedding for each of the beds. If they're bulk buying this for a accommodation for various families. And this is the dining table that I ended up using as a bedside table here. I also ended up putting this like corded phone. It's off the hook and it's on top of like an old lunchbox. It's from the basement clutter kit, but it's the only one we have in the game. And I liked the idea of having a call phone if you needed help for something. That made a lot of sense to me, so I decided to include that here. I also just have a coffee cup, a clock, some glasses, just some personal things in this space. I also decided not to put a rug in here. And for a while, I considered not putting one in the living room as well, just for traction, and like wheeling around, and didn't think that was the best idea. But in the end, I ended up adding one because this could be for any type of family. And I was thinking it could be one of those washable rugs that's easy to take off the ground and just throw in the washer. So maybe depending on who is staying here, they may or may not have a rug, because that's also a nice comfort thing. It makes you feel like you're at home. So I do end up adding that a little bit later on. It's just right now I don't have it, but this is right by the entry. I just wanted to have a place to like throw your keys and a nice little mirror, a couple of normal entryway things and decorations, of course. I put a lot of plants in this house, like every house that I decorate, but it makes it feel like more homey. So that's what I decided. I also put like a box of mail and stuff. They're probably every once in a while going and picking up their mail from their home. So I thought having that kind of piled up over there made sense. And I also wanted to include some games around the space, some distractions and fun things to do for the family, and to do with the other bonding people staying here. So if you're bonding with other families that also have children staying at Gosh, I was thinking, they could play some board games or chess or whatever you'd like. So I did include a few different options for that. I also think I have a Don't Wake the Llama table and a foosball table in this house. But anyway, this bedroom that we are working on now is the one I was imagining was for a mom or a couple of parents who have an infant. So it's a little bit more girly in here, I guess. Not that that's really a good descriptor, but it's very pink and I think it's really cute. And then I have a crib over here as well as a dresser. I didn't add a changing table. I probably should have. I don't know why I didn't. I think it's just because I really wanted to use this dresser in all of the bedrooms because it's really pretty and it fit the style I was going for. So I don't think I have a changing table in here, but I do have a rocking chair if you want to sit down with the baby. And I have, diapers and stuff, just like simple decorations that would insinuate that that space is for some parents and their very young child. This is where that games table is that I had mentioned, or the Don't Wake the Llama table and the foosball table. And I'm just adding some plants. I also added a couch over here. Just more hangout spots for whoever is staying here to relax and try and take their mind off of things and have some activities to do. It's the best you can do to cope in these sorts of situations. So I wanted to make sure to use space like that. And then we're moving up to the next floor where we have 2 more bedrooms. This one is a room that just has a double bed in it. It's a pretty generic bedroom. It could be for anyone. And then the other bedroom on this floor, I have 2 single beds that I was imagining was for some kids to stay in. So you'll see that when we get to it. But I wanted to quickly show you this one. Very simple, but I think it looks nice using the same dresser. I also use this wardrobe from Horse Ranch. And I believe we get a mirror on the wall over here as well. Yes, and just a little rack to hang up some more clothes. This is the kids' bedroom. I really liked these beds. Once again, from Discover University, I'm heavily using that in this build as well as cottage living. They really came in handy for the style of this build. And of course, the base game curtains. I don't know if I've ever used this swatch of the bed, but I thought it was really pretty. And I put these little fox paintings up above it. They just felt correct. I wanted something with a brown frame, but still had a little bit of like youthful energy to it. So that's what I decided to do there. And then I'm getting a toy box and I think a dollhouse in here as well. Oh, and a Blarfy. Just like a couple of toys. It's pretty minimally decorated, but I wanted to make sure there was a couple of things for your Sims to go ahead and play with. And I think I had a plant in this corner. And that should be it for this room other than these little posters and a couple of things on the bedside table. I thought it was a nice simple room, gets the point across. And then up on the top floor, you enter into like a lofted play area / hangout space. There's a bunch of bookcases. There's a big dollhouse, some toys. There's the toy box. And then there's also a door that leads you into an office space, which I thought would be good for maybe if the parents needed to get some work done. A lot of jobs are more remote now and work from home. So having that space to dedicate to work, I thought was a very good idea. Hopefully they don't have to do too much work during this time, but if they do, I thought it was a good idea to have that space available for them. I also just have a spot for your kids to hang up some of their artwork and stuff that they're doing and just like fun things like that. So getting all of that hung up now. I believe I also get a plant, over the staircase here. It just felt empty and I needed to put something. So I ended up putting a hanging plant because it's one of my favorites. And got a clock over here as well, and we're just rearranging some of this stuff so it looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And what else did I add over here? Oh, the little bookcase item that hangs on the wall that came with the infant update. And another big toy. That one's a dragon, I believe. Or is it a dinosaur or a dragon? I think it's a dragon. And then this is going to be that work from home office I had mentioned. I ended up having two of the same desk, a couple of bookcases, and a couch in that little window space. I ended up using the same couch that we have down in the living room from the Book Nook kit. It fits so perfectly there, and it's super cozy, and we should be grabbing that here shortly. I also made sure to get a corkboard as well as a calendar above each of the desks so that there was a space for the Sims to keep track of everything going on. Apologies if you can hear my cat. She decided right now is a good time to scratch on her scratching post. But yeah, the desks are pretty similar and I have essentially the same layout on each side. I also put a chair over in the corner and then we're going downstairs to add a couple more personal touches. I have this basket of toys. We will be adding that rug I had mentioned earlier on. And I think other than that, finishing the landscaping outside and adding some seating for the Sims to hang out here. Yeah. And the monkey bars so that the kids could play on that. I don't know if I've ever played on monkey bars, to be honest. I feel like I mention this every time that we place down monkey bars in a build, that I just am confused why those came in base game and swings didn't, because I feel like swings are a much more common household item that families have. But maybe I'm wrong. That's just my experience, but either way, I thought it was a fun activity to have outside for the kids. Over here, I also thought about having a coffee table, but I ended up putting a fire pit instead so your Sims can roast marshmallows or whatever. And yeah, it's just a cozy little space. I also have a mailbox out here for multiple households. And I think the rest of this is just going to be some finishing up of landscaping. So I really hope you all enjoyed this build. And once again, if you are inclined, I will have a link down below to our Tiltify campaign if you'd like to donate to Gosh to help these families to have some place to stay while their children are going through treatment. But yeah, just moving on into the second unit now to bring in the fixtures for the kitchen space so that is all set up, and the bathrooms were already copied over. So that is all set. And that should be it for this video. Thank you so very much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more. And if you click that bell, it'll turn on notifications so you'll be notified when I upload. Thank you all so very much for watching. Please enjoy those screenshots, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.